Subject this morning, the creative power of habit. The creative power of habit. Habits are wonderful things when they're the right kind of habit. But when they're the wrong type of habit, they're very troublesome. What is habit? Habit is an automatic action, an involuntary action that has become so by repeated action, independent action, until it becomes automatic. Habit is an economy of nature. It's a good thing, otherwise we wouldn't have any time for anything else but doing the things of life, that we might eat and live and go about. For instance, when we learn to walk, I don't know whether you can remember it, I can't, but this is what they tell us to do. That you use your will to take the step. Then after a lot of teetering, you use the will again and take another step. And after you do that long enough, it becomes automatic. And we walk along through the reflex action in the cord, and we save lots of time, do we not? In other words, habit is an economy of nature to save our having to use the will in everything we do. And that's a wonderful thing. I'm just thinking of the case of multiple sclerosis. And those unfortunate people, because of the trouble in the cord, they have to think each time they take a step, just as if they were little children. And so, by this power of nature, this economy of nature, we are saved a lot of willpower, a lot of time required in using independent action for things which are not so necessary after they become automatic, as walking and such things, as drudgery. Next time you ladies make the bed, if it wasn't for that habit there, you'd be dead thinking of how to make that bed each time. But you do it now and think of everything else and think of God and the Master and lots of things. Why? Because of the law of habit. That habit is an automatic action. But there was a time when you had to learn to make that bed, was there not? You have to learn. But by repeated action, it becomes automatic, and then it saves us lots of time. Same way in driving your car. Now, don't take this wrong. When you drive, you know you don't have to think. But don't go too far, because there may be a post or some such thing in your way. But nevertheless, that's so. And if you do it judiciously, all the different shifting of gears, of course, you don't have to do that so much now, but other things, driving is done automatically because you've done it so many times that it becomes automatic, involuntary, so to speak. The law of habit is a wonderful thing. It saves us a tremendous amount of time. It is most wonderful when it is used in a creative way for good. But remember, it's very dangerous when it is used in the opposite way. It works both ways. That's the worst of it. If it would only work on the good side, we'd feel wonderful. But it works just as efficiently, and I think sometimes more, on the bad side. Because those habits which are formed, which we wish we didn't have, it seems are awful hard to do away with. But, of course, the law is the same. The law is the same. Now, if we use habits for upliftment, progression, they are wonderful. Those are good habits. And if we use habits, the creative power of habits, which cause us to decline, those are the bad habits and cause a recession in our progress toward divinity. Now that's the key by which you should judge all your habits, whether they are creative or not. The creative habits, remember, it's very simple. The creative habits are those which leads you upward toward the oneness of God's consciousness and not toward duality. Now, for instance, let us take the habit that people have of smoking. Now, that habit takes us away from the unity of God's presence, the divinity within us. Not that it is such a detrimental habit, I don't know. They say it is, some say it isn't. But the point is, it ties us to outward consciousness. It ties us to sensation, and thereby it takes us away from God, especially if there is so much attachment to it that you cannot stop it. That is not good. That is not becoming a child of God. And to break that habit, we have to, through independent action, resolve to stop, and then to keep stop until it becomes automatic. And then when it's established, it works just as much the other way. It works just as much the other way. It's just as difficult to smoke as it is not to smoke. It's just as difficult to once more take it up when you have established yourself in the unity of God's love and consciousness as it is to give it up. And those of you who do smoke, don't feel too badly. There are much greater things than that. But this I can tell you, that if you find out God, search Him out, feel His love, the habit will take care of itself. That's the greatest. So do that. Don't be taken up with your habits. Who cares what they are? As Jesus said, let him throw the first stone who is without trouble and habit. Forget that. Just seek God first. That's the greatest thing. You don't have to emphasize these habits. Seek God first. By making that the greatest habit within your lives, as I will come to, and then these other things follow. Habit is a wonderful thing when it is for good, when it lifts us toward the divinity within us. Remember, that's the criterion which you should follow. Is this habit, is this which I am doing, this habit taking me away from the duality of consciousness which ties me to this dream of God, or is it lifting me from attachment that I may be free, a free soul as I should be? If you ask yourself that question on your habit, and then honestly deal with yourselves through independent action, creating new habits, creative habits, then you will reach your goal, salvation from this world of delusion. So the creative power of habit is that we should do those habits, instill into our consciousness those habits which lift us toward God's presence. That's the greatest habit we can have. That's the greatest creative habit, as I shall shortly come to. That which takes us into the presence of God. That's really a creative habit. And that's using the power of habit for the highest creation. Uniting ourselves once more with God. Habits affect our lives more than we think. We think, I do as I please, but you don't. We're most, all of us, automatons. As the Master used to say, we get up, and we get up, we do certain things every day, and we have, as he said, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then we come home, and we get the paper out, and read. Then, of course, we should do our meditation, and we do that over and over. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit. Now, that's good to be creatures of habit if the habit is creative. Isn't that so? Because it's going to be an awful lot of trouble if we have to think every little thing we do. But if we, through independent action, establish within ourselves good habits, creative habits, then that's wonderful. Then we are still creatures of habit, but creatures of good habits. Most people, as I have said, are automatons. They get up, We go down the street, I must say we go down the street and we go by that same bakery window. And we know better, because we're too big anyway, but we go in and get the pies and the cake. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. But then there comes a time, from whatever reason it is, fear or somebody got too fat and passed out or something, then we begin to think, well, now I better change that habit. And so through independent action, we sail right by that window. Until we sail by enough times, we don't even think of it again. I never think of those windows now. How many of you can do that? How many of you can go right by that and not look right nor left, right straight? You'll have to do that. You have to make that habit, that creative habit. The only thing is, as I have said, habit works both ways, not only for good, but for bad. And that's what we have to watch out, that we use habit for a creative purpose. And that's what I have taken this subject to mean, the creative power of habit, using the power of habit for creative means. That to me is what the creative power of habit means. The power of habit is the same. It's how you use it. Whether you use it for good or for bad, that's the question. Now we come to the part which independent action plays in habit. Independent action plays a very important part. As I have said, most of us are automatons and we act automatically. And if we are to change that automatic action, we have to start with independent action. To create a new habit, we have to use independent action first. And then that habit which we create, that new power which we use, must be used for a creative purpose. Now, the only way to change the habit is through independent action. As I have said, if you're giving up smoking, you have to first, through independent action, stop it. You know what? It just won't stop itself. It's too deeply ingrained. But when you use independent action and just stop, then you repeat it, and if you repeat it enough, it becomes automatic until you do not even have to think of it. That's using the power of habit in a very creative way. So do not think of what your habits are, what your bad habits are, I should say. Do not be concerned with them at all. Be concerned with establishing new habits whereby you can use the greatest creative ability, as I will try to point out. And luckily for us, we do not have to take every one of our habits and start and change every one. We'll never get through. But what we can do is establish especially one habit within us which has the greatest creative power on earth, and I will come to that in a moment or two. And so, as you use your independent action to establish within you new habits, they must be for one purpose, and what is that purpose? That purpose is to make over your body, mind, and soul. To make it over that it will express divinity. That's all. Now that's an easy way to remember what you should do in establishing habits, to make them really creative. That habit which you establish must tend toward the rehabilitation of your bodily vehicle, body, mind, and soul, that it express divinity. Isn't that wonderful? That's the highest thing. Look at the Master. He was with us. He so made over his vehicle, whether it be in this incarnation or not, doesn't matter. He made it over. He so made it over that he expressed God. He expressed the divinity. And each and every one of us has the same Christ consciousness, the same love which the Master had. Each one of us has. Now, if we do away with those habits which are preventing the expression of that great love in us, our divinity, then the body will be fit to express it. And expressing divinity, we can give it to others. So that's the highest thing we must work toward in this creative power of habit. We can use the power of habit in many ways. We can use the power of habit in a profession, in business, as an artist, or as a laborer. The same law holds. If you establish within yourself, or reestablish, I should say, the habit of regular meditation, if you establish that, then what happens? Then you gain contact with God within you, do you not? And having that, you have the greatest power within you on earth, the power of God Himself. And so you can see why reestablishing the habit of meditation is the highest thing you can do, the greatest creative work you can do in establishing habits within you. Establish that habit of meditation, regular meditation, and you have the greatest creative power in your hand, God Himself in you. Now, you can apply that to your profession, your work, your career, whatever labor you are doing. The same law works. Now, if you are a professional man, you use this creative power of habit not to make more money. Of course, money is necessary. If that's your ideal, then you are missing the use of the greatest creative power of habit. But if you want to make yourself a better professional man, that's tending toward God's consciousness, is it not? That's expressing within you more and more divinity. Because the divine physician, the divine professional man, is near to God in perfection. Now you can apply that to business. I know business sometimes is terrible. The competition is wicked. But nevertheless, you can take God with you in business. I don't care what business you're in. You can take God, if it's legitimate and is not tending away from God too much, you can take God with you in every business and make a success by using this creative power of habit within you by regular meditation, uniting your consciousness with God, and then your business will be better, your results will be better. The same with any work you do. The main thing is to seek first God. Make the habit of seeking first God. That's the greatest creative habit you can make within yourself. That's what it means when Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God. No matter what your line is, don't think that you're going to drop it and run away to some monastery or the Himalayas and find God and everything will be smooth. As the Master said, when you get there, you'll find the same thing. But it means seek God right now where you are. If you're married and you're having difficulties, don't think you're going to run away from them. You've got to face them sometime. Face them now by establishing within yourself the great habit of regular meditation. And then by God's power, starting right where you are, you can overcome all difficulties. What good is God if we have to run away someplace to find Him? God is the greatest thing we have. And by finding Him first, and starting right where we are, establishing the right habits of meditation, we can win every battle. In fact, you have to win those battles to be free. So don't think you're going to run away now from the things which confront you. No. Run away from outward consciousness and first know God. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and then all other things will be added unto you, the readjustment of your life and all things in every walk of life. The Master and I used to talk years ago, and we would talk about this, we'd talk about that, and we'd always end up by saying, well, the greatest thing is meditation. Because it establishes you with God. And God, who has made universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, surely is able to direct us in the right way. So remember, that's the first and greatest thing, is to establish within you the habit of regular meditation. So that brings us to the next subject, part of the subject, the power of habit used in a creative way on the spiritual path. And this is what we're interested in. I have taken up the subject of applying the creative power of habit to profession and business because, well, we have to. We're all in the business. We're all in something, whether we like it or not. We're playing our part in God's work. But primarily, we're interested, or you wouldn't be in this church, we're interested in knowing how to apply the creative power of habit in a spiritual way. Isn't that so? Aren't you all here to know how you can get to God sooner? Aren't you all here to know how you can get rid of your troubles and overcome things? Well, that simply means you want something that will take you out of those troubles, and that something is God. And so, applying this creative power of habit in a spiritual way is very important. Now, the first thing to remember is this, that we have within ourselves the greatest power on earth. The greatest power on earth is within us. The greatest creative power on earth is there. And that power is what? That's the Holy Ghost within us. Because from that holy vibration has come all things. Therefore, is not that power the greatest creative power on earth? Therefore, what must we do? We must make the habit of daily contacting the holy vibration through the channel which that holy vibration has sent, the channel of self-realization. We must make that the first thing in our lives from the moment we wake up until we go to bed again. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to just think of SRF every minute and forget everything else. No. It means you're going to use the techniques of self-realization to first get that contact with God. When you wake up, get the contact. Having that, then you can use that greatest creative power on earth, the presence of God in you as a holy vibration, to instill in your new habits, whatever they be. The habits are good or bad, can be good or bad. But if you put the creative power of God in it, then the habit will turn toward divinity, will lead you away from duality, away from delusion, away from trouble. It will lead you toward the great love of the one common Father. And so I think that's the greatest thing that we can remember, is to make the daily habit of God contact the first thing in our lives. That's seeking God first. That's following Jesus' word. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all other things shall be added unto you. But most people do not take it that way. They think seek first the kingdom of God means to drop everything. All your obligations and all your karmic debt, just drop it and seek God. But it doesn't work that way. You have to seek Him first within yourself. Then you have to fight those karmic debts. You have to fight the troubles. But remember, as the Master said, there's one thing that will overcome every trouble which you have, every passion, every deeply ingrained habit, and that's God's love. So you can readily see that to utilize the power of habit to the greatest creative ability is to first form a habit which gives you God contact. Isn't that so? And so we should make self-realization, fellowship, a way of life. We should make it our way of life for the simple reason we cannot afford not to. Because we will never have true freedom, we will never have true peace and joy until we attain God's contact, until we emerge in the one ocean of His presence, until we get out of this duality of consciousness. Self-realization, to honestly say to you, is the only way I have found that gives the right method of meditation for God's contact. Now, some of you may differ, but I have found this so, And I've tried a good many of them. And until I met the Master, and he showed me the difference between theory and realization, I didn't really understand what leading self-realization life meant. We must make the leading of self-realization a daily habit. Lead the life, because by following it, you will be led to create good habits which will lead you to God's contact. That's one of the greatest things. That's what self-realization can do for each and every one who will follow it. It will give you God contact. And if we can apply the presence of God in us to the business of creating new habits, don't you think it'll be right? Certainly it'll be right. You will use independent action of the right nature. You will use independent action guided by God, not by outward consciousness, not by duality. You will use independent action of your soul. How can you go wrong? Then you will be using creative power of habit to the highest degree. Take God with you. Make the habit first of God contact. Make God contact the first habit now which you are going to reestablish. We've had that contact, we've lost it. We have to reestablish it. So if you want to use the power of habit to the greatest creative degree, get hold of God first. Know Him through the technique of self-realization. I have a few axioms here which I've written down I think might interest you about habit. Make non-attachment a habit. Make non-attachment a habit. Are you attached to this little thing or that little thing? You have to have your eggs done just so. I did. I don't know. Because it was tying me down. What's an egg compared to the soul? What is an egg compared to the soul? We shouldn't even consider it. And so, let us do that. Make non-attachment. Make non-attachment a habit. And you won't suffer. I used to think if I didn't have that egg just right, I just couldn't exist. But I found you exist in a better way. You have freedom of the soul by saying, egg, you don't count anymore. What counts is God. So make non-attachment a habit, because attachment keeps the soul tied to the body. Now another axiom is this. Habits of thought are mental magnets. Now, if your habits of thought are of a material nature, now this is important. You think it isn't. It is. If your habits of thought are of a material nature, you will attract those material habits, will you not? And so likewise, if your habits are of a spiritual nature, those magnets will draw spiritual things, and you will be expressing divinity in a better way. So remember, habits are mental magnets which draw to you. Because of the nature of habit, as I told you, there's an economy of nature. It keeps drawing to you to save you carrying out independent action to bring those things. And so those automatic magnets, so to speak, draw either material things which take you out into duality of consciousness, or spiritual things which lift you up toward God, toward divinity. Now another point I have here, why give all time to worldly things? Why give all time to the world? The world creates in you certain bad habits, certain actions, certain habits now, but the world will not be responsible for the actions you do in fulfilling those desires or worldly things. They won't help you pay. You pay yourself, and you pay hard. So let's not give so much time to worldly things. Let us realize the sensible thing is to seek God first, and let the world take care of itself. But if we seek worldly things, we lay up certain habits you cannot escape. But when the action which comes from those habits has to be paid for, so to speak, and you have ill health from overeating and such things, will the world help you? No. It won't be there at all. There'll be more things to get you in deeper. but the will will not help you. So we should remember that. Now comes another point. We must use our will. We must use our will until the habit is established. I don't think that you can just say now, from now on, after he gets through, I'm going to start and I'm going to create all new habits. That's fine. But that will not be established until you use your will to do the action that establishes the habit, will it? Now you've made up your mind that you're going to daily follow self-realization, that you may contact God. That's wonderful. Those intentions are wonderful. But the intentions will not carry you through unless you put your will behind the intention. Someone said, what is it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's right. Intentions are not enough. We have good intentions. Yes, I'm going to diet. I intend to diet. I intend to diet. But you never get to it. You never get to it, as the little child said about his grandmother. She says, Grandma still has a regular meal and then her diet. So that's it. We intend to, but we never get to it. I thought that was a cute story about diet. But remember, this is the key. That's why I keep saying in your meditations when you sing, put your will into it. The greater the will, the less enslaving habits. Remember that. The greater the will, the less enslaving habits. Because when habits begin to take hold of you, if your will is strong and you see that the habit is not good, then you can abolish it and establish a new habit. And finally, about the actions, one other thing, the habit of self-control. The habit of self-control is created because it helps us not to yield to temptation. Self-control is a great force. It is the exercise of will, of course. So I'm saying, in reestablishing your habits, use the will. Use the will. And what good habits you do have, do not lose them by lack of will. If you are of a nature whereby it's easy for you to do good, and you have good habits, that's wonderful. But don't get lax. Don't forget the will that keeps those habits as they are. Otherwise, temptation enters, and you lose those things, those good things which you have. And that brings us to the end of our talk this morning. It is this one thing I want to impress upon you emphatically is Jesus' word. Seek first. Seek first the kingdom of God. That does not mean to run away from things that you have. But when you wake up in the morning, use the power of heaven in a creative way by once again, right then, establishing your contact with God through right meditation given by the Master in the techniques and rules of self-realization. That's seeking God first. That's seeking Him first. As you start the day, get the contact. And then, after a bit, when the habit is formed, as you know this body without thinking of it even, so you will know the presence of God and the Master in you without even giving it a thought. Now, isn't that wonderful? That shows what habit can do. It's nothing but habit. We're creatures of habit. And if you make up your mind and resolve, beginning right now, to seek God first by establishing contact with Him, when you first open your eyes in the morning, through the techniques of self-realization, if you do that, establish that, you are seeking the kingdom of heaven. And what's the reward? Everything will be added unto you. You will create within yourselves new good habits. And all the evil habits, due to the power of God within you, will fall off, and your soul will be free. Those who meditate a little and vaguely contact God, when the waves of restlessness come upon them, their bad habits win. You understand? This is a very important point. Those who meditate a little, superficially, and get just a little God contact, when the wave of restlessness comes, the bad habits win. Now this is pointed out clearly in the Bible. In Matthew, 25th chapter, 29th verse. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. That's the law of habit. If you have created within you the habit of contacting God and having him with you, more and more he'll be with you. To him who hath shall be given. And if you are, as I pointed out, lax, meditating just superficially, contacting God in a haphazard way, that peace which you have, that will go, because the bad habits will win, do you see? The law of habit is very important. We must use it in a creative way. To him who hath the love of God in his heart, more shall be given unto him. More and more you'll feel the presence of God. More and more you'll realize that you are not subject to the law of habit at all. You are one with he who has made habit. That's the power of God that will come to all of those who seek God first and use the power of habit in a real creative way. Those, remember, who are always seeking God and make him paramount in their life, they will have his protection in everything. Let come any bad habit. You can throw it off if the Master of the universe is with you. And so it is so important to use the power of habit in a creative way by following the Master, who gave us through his grace the right method of God contact. Having that, no habit can bother you. No habit can sway you. And so those make God first in their life and establish the habit of so doing shall stand, as the Master used to say, unshaken through the crash of breaking world.